Under Dr. Pezeshkian's administration, greater priority was given to neighbouring countries. Look, during the first 2 weeks of the war, there was no request for a ceasefire from the United States. We do not want the 12-day war, which was halted by a ceasefire but then resumed several months later, to become a pattern that is repeated in our country. Iran's foreign policy is a continuous process. Each government may move it forward through a series of initiatives, a different kind of dialogue, and new initiatives. But our foreign policy has a number of fixed principles that every government seeks to advance. Under Dr. Pezeshkian's administration, greater priority was given to neighbouring countries. And naturally, prioritizing neighbors also entails certain requirements. One of those requirements is eliminating any tension in relations with each of our neighbors. It also means expanding relations and creating new grounds and new capacities in those relations. That is why, alongside the neighborhood policy, we also launched a policy of provincial diplomacy. And this, interaction with Azerbaijan President directly, has strengthened his conviction that, genuinely, through dialogue and interaction, it is possible to achieve results that cannot be achieved through tension, quarrels and interference. In fact, they provided very significant assistance, including supplying some of the goods we needed, medicines and similar items, and allowing stranded Iranians to return to the country through their territory. They cooperated extensively. Some of our aircraft even entered through their routes. Politically as well, they expressed sympathy, sent messages of condolence, and sent congratulatory messages to our dear leader. Look, during the first 2 weeks of the war, there was no request for a ceasefire from the United States. Some countries were asking to step in, for example, to move things forward, establish contacts or mediate. Our response to all of them was clear, and it was a response the President also believed in. We do not want a ceasefire. We want an end to the war. We do not want the 12-day war, which was halted by a ceasefire but then resumed several months later, to become a pattern that is repeated in our country.
On behalf of the elected representatives of the people, I declare that we will not allow the blood of the martyred leader, the innocent children of Minab, and the other martyrs of the second and third sacred offenses to be shed in vain, under the guidance of the supreme leader of the revolution, and in accountability to the people of Iran. We commit to employing all our capabilities to secure the rights of the Iranian nation, end the aggression, punish the aggressor, and uphold the pride of our country. We will not allow the enemy to undermine our national unity, the people's presence, the resilience of the nation, or the resolve of our officials. A united, powerful, and vigilant Iran, relying on Almighty God, the guidance of the Supreme Leader, the will of the nation, and the full coordination and synergy among our military, diplomatic, and service sectors, will emerge triumphant from this historic test. Divine victory will inevitably be granted to the striving people. Today, based on the duty to realize the conditions and measures set by the Supreme Leader of the Revolution, by employing the power of logic and utilizing the logic of power, and through the coordination of the diplomatic and military fields, we strive to force a delusional America to pay the rights of the Iranian people. Let me be clear, until America's obligations in the Memorandum of Understanding, including lifting the blockade, releasing blocked assets, lifting oil sanctions, ending threats and military operations on all fronts, and other conditions that America has agreed to in the memorandum are implemented, the strait will not be opened. The enemy, in its new design, seeks economic pressure and the destruction of the country's cohesion, and today, U.S. government officials explicitly state this plan. They want to win the game by creating dissatisfaction and creating a rift within Iranian society, a game in which they have clearly lost so far in the military and diplomatic arenas.
Our current focus is on this issue, the return to what was mentioned in the Memorandum of Understanding, and resuming negotiations between the two parties, US and Iran. These efforts are ongoing, of course, but as you know, we are also awaiting an agreement between the sisterly Sultanate of Oman and Iran regarding the Strait of Hormuz, which will, as we said, enable us to return to the framework of negotiations. The trajectory of events we would like to see in Qatar is an agreement on the opening of the Strait of Hormuz, which would coincide with the resumption of the ceasefire and the resumption of the talks. Are these parallel lines converging or diverging? It's not very systematic on our end, but what I would say is that the agreement over the Strait of Hormuz would make it much easier for us to resume the talks between the United States and Iran. We have already delivered one of the remains of Iranian pilot which Qatar said violated Qatari airspace. We have already received an Iranian delegation. We have already offered to sit down with the Iranians and explain to them the search and rescue operations. The involvement of the ICRC in the statements by the Iranians is just a media ploy, and the attempt of making it look apparently to their own people like they are doing the most that they can. They don't need any third party. We would welcome any verifiers from any party, but this is just a media ploy. It's not a serious ask that the ICRC be part of this. The ICRC needs to be part of this if we were not communicating with the Iranians directly. We are communicating with them. They have an invitation. They are the ones that haven't yet replied to the invitation. The invitation is still open. We were, of course, surprised by these completely unfounded media statements and illogical claims, referring to Iranian military officials saying that Qatar should allow an Iranian team to enter the country to investigate the fate of pilots. The Iranian side held a funeral procession for the body that was handed over to them and was briefed on the search and rescue operations. They have an open invitation to come here to Doha and be informed of the remaining details regarding the search and rescue operations. However, if this is merely for domestic consumption and these statements are intended to resolve a problem for the Iranians domestically, we are frankly not concerned with these statements and have no interest in engaging with them. From our perspective, the matter is clear, and there is no need for media grandstanding.
On the expiration of the Memorandum of Understanding, are you any closer today to reaching a final deal to end Iran's nuclear program?
Well, they want to make a deal, but they're not going to make the kind of a deal that I feel is necessary. Look, we're in there for one reason. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. You understand that? Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon, and they won't have a nuclear weapon. And right now, them building one after what we did previously with the B-2 bombers, going to be a long time behalf. But Iran cannot have, it's very simple, they can't have a nuclear weapon.
Last week you said that you would soon declare the Strait of Hormuz to be a territory of the United States. Could you elaborate?
Well, I just think it's a great idea, yeah. I mean, we control it. We control it with the blockade. We have a blockade. We control it with the blockade. And I like the idea of declaring it a territory.
When might you do that?
We have total control over the strait. Now, they can be a nuisance. They can put a mine in the water, and people don't like having mines hit their billion-dollar ships, you know, et cetera. But the blockade has been very effective. And, you know, we're taking out, now maybe that will stop, or maybe it'll open up even further, but we're taking out millions of barrels of oil a week. If you look at the kind of numbers that we're doing, the strait is open, and the oil prices are coming down, and they will continue to come down unless we decide to do something far more drastic than we're doing. Iran is in big trouble. They have 300% inflation. The country's a mess, and the military is totally defeated.
Upgrade your news experience with the all-new HT app. Download now.